Hey 4th grade, Miss Rowe here. Today we are going to be completing a one-paragraph outline for PARCC Practice Test 2's essay portion. So before we get started, you need to make sure you do a couple of things. First, you need to make sure you've carefully read our texts. If you haven't read the texts yet, you can join me for a guided read aloud and think aloud of the texts in Miss Rowe's Lesson 4. Second, you need to make sure you've tapped out our prompt. And if you need some help with that, you can turn to Mr. Freeman's lesson number 9. Let's get started with our one-paragraph outline. Get started reviewing our prompt. You have read a passage from The Wild Horses of Assateague Island, Wild Ponies of Chincoteague, and In Thunder and Rain, Chincoteague Ponies Make Annual Swim. Think about the illustrations from the passages and how they help the reader learn more about the ponies. Write an essay explaining what can be learned from the illustrations about the lives of the ponies described in the passages. Include details from all 3 sources in your explanation. Let's review our topic, audience, and purpose. If you have not yet tapped out your prompt, head over to Mr. Freeman's lesson 9. Topic: we are writing about what can be learned from the ponies from the illustration. So that's really the focus of our essay. Who we are writing to, our audience. We are writing to non-experts. So we have become experts through our close reading of these 3 texts on these wild ponies. We need to make sure we're using organized and precise language so that non-experts can learn from our writing too. And finally, why are we writing? We are writing to explain the purpose of these illustrations. Focusing in on this purpose, because we're explaining, should we use a quick outline or should we use a story arc? If you said quick outline, great job, 4th graders. Yes, when we explain or inform, we always use a quick outline to organize our writing. On your scratch paper, go ahead and set up a 1-paragraph quick outline. If you would like to write a 2-paragraph response, head over to Mr. Freeman's lesson 10 for guidance on that. So let's think about the different parts of our quick outline and what we need to be sure of for each part. First, we have our TS. We know that our TS, or our topic sentence, must address our topic. What can be learned about the ponies from the illustrations? Next, looking at our details, we know we need to include information from 3 texts, and we have 4 details. So, our first 2 details can address text 1, our 3rd detail can address text 2, and our 4th detail can address text 3. Finally, we know our CS, our concluding sentence, must also address our topic. Okay, so these notes will help me stay on track as I outline, and they will be available to you right here on the side of the screen. Now, focusing on our TS and developing a strong topic sentence. I know that my TS introduces our reader to our topic, and so I need to make sure it's very interesting so that my audience wants to keep reading and learning more. Here is a TS that addresses our topic. When authors use informational texts, they will use illustrations to provide more information about what is written in the text. Let's look back to our topic. We're really focusing on the illustrations in these informative texts and how they inform us about our topic, ponies. So, this TS will set us up for success as we move forward to give examples in our 3 texts. Next, let's look at our first 2 details. As a reminder, our first 2 details are both going to come from the text, The Wild Horses of Assateague Island. Remember, we're focusing on the illustrations from these texts, so in order to think about what I need to include, I'm going to go back to my illustrations from the text to think about what those illustrations taught me. So here we have the 2 illustrations that were in the text, The Wild Horses of Assateague Island. We have the first illustration that was on page 24, and the second that was on page 25. Looking at this first image, and remembering the information in the text, what did we learn about the ponies here? We learned that they were free roaming. There are no humans around in this picture, and we can see that they live on a beach. Now looking at our second image, what did we learn about the ponies in this image? Well, we learned what they look like, how they're a little different from a typical horse, that they have a small stature and a bloated or large stomach. So going back to our details, notice how I recorded this information in my details. Detail number 1, horses equal free roaming plus live on beach. So I have my equal sign and my plus sign as symbols to help me communicate these ideas, to say that the horses are free roaming and they live on the beach. I also included here the page number that the illustration is on, so when I'm writing my essay, I can go back to my illustration to include any more information that I need. For my second detail, appearance equals small stature plus bloated stomach. So that's telling me, using symbols, that the horse's appearance, what they look like, is that their bodies are small and their stomachs are bloated or large. And I added the page number, page 25, so I can go back to my illustration to add any more details that I need. Now, these 2 details are written as notes. That's okay because we're in the outlining stage. But I know when I go back and write my full essay, I need to change these details into strong, complete, and interesting sentences with transition words so that they make sense to my audience. Let's take a look at our third detail. As a reminder, this is coming from our second text, which is called Wild Ponies of Chincoteague. Let's go back to our text and take a look at our illustrations so that we know what our essay will be focusing on. So there are 4 illustrations in this second text on page 32, page 33, and page 34. So I know that I'm going to be recording information for one detail, so I'm going to focus in on one illustration that provides me with the most information from this text. I'm focusing on the illustration that was on page 32. You can see right here, this photograph gives me so much information about this swim across the channel that the wild ponies take from Assateague to Chincoteague. So here in this image, I can see the horses swimming across the channel on their own. I can see the saltwater cowboys guiding them across in boats, and I can see the large crowds in the background here that have come to watch the annual swim. So taking this information and putting it back into my outline, you can see for detail number 3, swim across channel equals horses in water plus saltwater cowboys in boats plus crowd on shore. So again, I'm using my equal sign and my plus signs as symbols to communicate information to say that the horses swim across the channel involves the horses swimming in the water, the cowboys in the boats, and a large crowd on shore. I've also noted that this illustration is on page 32, so when I'm writing, I can go back to my text to reference and add any more details I need. Again, I wrote this in note-taking form, and I know when I write my final essay, I'm going to need to add a transition word and transfer this idea into a strong, complete sentence. Okay, let's take a look at our detail 4. This is coming from our third text, which is called In Thunder and Rain, Chincoteague Ponies Make Annual Swim. So this text actually only has one illustration. Here it is. So the thing that's really different about this illustration that we noticed during our first read is we're seeing this element of extreme weather. We can see the rain pounding against the water as these ponies continue to make their swim. So this is really the significance of this image, and it was something that was highlighted in the text as well. So our fourth and final detail is that the ponies can swim even in extreme weather like thunder and rain. Again, I included my page number, page 40, so I can reference that illustration more specifically in my essay if I choose. So to conclude, again, we're addressing our topic. In conclusion, illustrations give more meaning to a text as shown through these texts about the lives of ponies. And there we have our completed outline. We are ready to write our essay. Remember, you need to convert your 4 details into strong, complete sentences. And remember, you are going to use your transition words to make your essay even more organized and beautiful. Please send me, Ms. Johnston and Mr. Freeman, pictures of your essays. We cannot wait to read them. Stay healthy and stay safe, and I can't wait to see you soon.